Monday, June 3rd, 2019, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning I want to talk about gold and silver and how they will protect your savings through the next period of inflation. And by inflation, I mean the inflation of the currency, the inflation of the credit bubble. Even though we are told that inflation is low, that's a complete fabrication. Many of you know that already. People who live in the real world see already the cost of living going up, the cost of tuition in the US, the cost of health, the cost of travel. You go in the shop, the cost of everything keeps creeping up. So of course, the central bankers, politicians, the people who work on Wall Street in the City of London, they never do that. They're not really living in the real world. The people at the very top. Don't get me wrong, I worked in the city and I would have noticed it as well. Not everyone in the city or Wall Street is that detached from the world. And that's why it has been very frustrating holding precious metals the last 5 years. But believe me, from personal experience, I know that precious metals will protect you eventually. Am I saying that gold and silver are going to go up now? Well, it's difficult to say, but it's looking a lot better. I'll look at the markets a little later on. But yeah, this is what people need to realize. If gold and silver as well, but more so gold, weren't an important part of the monetary system around the world, nations wouldn't be holding such huge reserves. We know the Chinese, the Russians, and other countries are starting to accumulate a lot more. We know last year, 2018, was the biggest accumulation of gold by nations or central banks, whatever you want to call it, since 1968. Gold is the only way to settle accounts between sovereign nations. Gold is also the only accepted form of payment in times of crisis or in times of war. I think it was Alan Greenspan, former chairman of the Federal Reserve, who's testified or commented years ago that that in extreme circumstances, gold is the only thing that would, is accepted worldwide. And so is silver. And we all know the comments by J.P. Morgan back in 1912 in Congress when asked what gold was. He said gold is money, everything else is credit. So in the old days, of course, under a gold standard, money was gold, of course, and there was an anchor to it, and they couldn't debase the currency as much because they had the anchor of gold. Take the UK, for example, from 1825, when the UK went back to the gold standard or went back to redeeming banknotes after the Napoleonic Wars until 1914. The price level actually decreased. We can't say that the 19th century and early 20th century wasn't a good time for the UK economy. Britain was at the height of empire, if you want to say it. And at the same time, Britain was able to pay, the government was able to pay down some of its national debt. So it's a fallacy as well to believe that we need this inflation, that we have this constant printing of money, creation of irredeemable credit by the central banks, all on the back of the taxpayer. That's why I started accumulating physical precious metals back in 2002 as a way to diversify, to try something different after the collapse, the dot-com bubble collapse. I thought, well, let's buy some gold. And through that, I've learned a lot, looking into the history of gold, history of money. I understand now how this monetary system works, and that it looks like we're going into another severe recession, if not a depression. And the only thing or only tool the central bankers and politicians believe in is more and more money. And they've got also Wall Street, the City of London, the speculators, the private equities, the hedge funds. They've totally captured everything, government, academia, and that's the only solution they see is even more and more credit, more money. They don't believe actually in production, in sound money, which we, up until 100 years ago or just a little more, that was what people believed in, and it worked. But all this is going to do is create more and more inequality. And that's why I think it's more and more important if you've been able to accumulate some savings and they are parked in paper currencies or fiat currencies or irredeemable currency, whatever you want to call it. I would personally be trying to accumulate some physical gold and silver. It will protect you. It has protected my savings. Yes, it has been frustrating, but it has been worthwhile. Since 2002, gold has moved from around 210, 220 pounds. We're now, as I speak here, at 1,040 almost in pounds. So let's quickly look at what the markets are doing this morning. Yesterday in my video, I said that I'm going to try to make my videos a bit shorter. It's not that I don't want to make them long. Some people think I might, it might be more, it might be better to make it a little more concise. We'll see. I'll see. I'll keep track of what's going on. But right now it's 7:24 a.m. London. So gold is doing well this morning. It's really breaking out, in my opinion, right now, even though the key levels right now are still, I think, 1321 and then, the 1375. Unless we get back above there, we won't see any fireworks. So right now we're at 1311.70, up 6 or 0.5%. The high's been 1313 and the low 1303. Silver is lagging, and that's not great. But for now, we'll take this. Silver is up about 2.5 cents at 1461. Range has been 1455 to 1468. The Dow is down 135. It has been down as much as 200 overnight. So it's at 24,674, down 0.5%. S&P also down 0.5%, and the NASDAQ down 2/3%. Currencies are fairly quiet. They're basically unchanged, so I won't go through them. The pound, euro, and yen are unchanged at the moment. Dollar is down against the yuan about 0.2% at 692.50. We've got crude oil continuing to go lower. WTI is down almost 1% at 53.10, and Brent is at 61.09, down 1.3. Bond markets, not surprising, the yields are lower. This morning, 10-year is down just over 1 basis points at 213. The 1 month is 236. So that yield curve is inverted by 23 basis points. Not a very good signal. So before I finish, just go quickly through the headlines. We've got a lot of talk about the China trade war. I've seen that some Chinese officials have spoken over the weekend. Some of them are saying that America, the U.S. government, they'll take as much as they want. They're too unreasonable in their negotiations. I heard that they're looking into FedEx. They're investigating FedEx, U.S. company. So yeah, things are heating up. We've got President Trump arriving in London today for a state visit. Of course, the public here is just as divided as in the U.S., I would say. The right and left. So there's a lot of support for Trump, but there's a lot of animosity for President Trump. Am I taking a side? No. All I think is happening is there's a lot of division. And that suits the globalists. They want us divided to keep the spotlight away from the real problem, in my opinion, the underlying problem in the economy, in society nowadays, in leadership, is the money. That money is no good. And as money is half of all commercial transactions anyone does, it's very important. You need money to survive on every, half of every transaction. There is money in direct exchange. So let's keep an eye on the markets. Let's keep an eye on precious metals. Encouraging that gold is moving higher. Yet last night when I watched the markets open, when the Dow was down about 175, gold was around 1308. I saw this morning that the Dow was down 120. I thought, wow, gold must have gone down, but no, it went further up. So that's a good sign. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Make sure you share this video far and wide with other people who you think might enjoy this kind of content. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Steemit, and on DTube. I wish you all a great start of the week. Take care. Bye.